Okay, I don't know if anyone's watching, but today we're going to go over for loops and uh, what's it called? For loops and while loops and a bunch of other things such as advanced for loops, which are very important when it comes to, going through objects and stuff like that. So what you want to do is obviously start up NetBeans. So let's start and let's begin. So what we're first going to do is let's create a new project because we want to keep everything off to the side before we want to keep everything separated so that way we don't mess with any other classes or projects that we have. So let's do this. Let's call this for loops. Actually, just to be funny, Fruit Loops. I don't know, I like Fruit Loops. So once we've made that, we've made our Fruit Loops class. So I know I am not being paid by them in however reasons, but I am fed by them, cereal. So so what is a for loop? A for loop allows you to go through a certain number, allows you to go through a set of instructions a certain number of times, or yeah, a certain number of times. A while loop does something while, hence the word while something is true. Oh, hello. Hey, someone's watching. Hello there. So anyway, uh, after a while loop, you have an advanced for loop. And what advanced for loop is, let's say you have an array and you want to go through that, but you want to get each item individually. You can go and do that. Or if you have multiple classes in an array, it's kind of hard to go through using a traditional for loop. So you use an advanced for loop. So let's begin. So let's say your teacher says, oh, I want you to do x equals x plus 1 a couple million times, and I want to see actually, yeah, a couple million times and see what you get, right? So you can do x equals x plus 1, x equals whatever that plus 1, and so on and so forth. But instead, you can go and use a for loop because you're smart that way. Hello, Michael. So let's start this. So I equals 1. You need an integer. I less than 1, 2, 3. Then I plus plus. So now let's do int x equals 0. Right, let's get rid of that. And then let's do x plus equals 1. And then at the end of it, why am I getting that error? Oh. And then at the end of it, let's do system.out.println, and we'll print out what x is. So if we run this, we get 999,000, which makes sense because we're just doing x equals x plus 1. Now what happens if we did x plus equals x? We should get, well, obviously it's 0, but alright, so that was not a good example, but still, as you can see, a for loop ran through it multiple times. So if we were to say, okay, I want you to go and let's calculate pi because that's a great way to solve it. So let's do 1 fail. let's say index, right? So how we're going to calculate pi is there's a formula in which you have to calculate a fourth of pi. It's 1 minus 1 divided by 3 plus 1 divided by 5, so on and so forth. So let's do this. Index equals 0, double pi equals 0, and let's do this. So once you have that, we're going to go and do this. We're going to do pi plus, no, pi equals pi plus 1 divided by index times, I don't know, negative MP, and MP is going to be what adds and subtracts. So int MP equals 1. So every time this happens, we're going to do MP times equals negative 1. So then once we have that, we'll go and do this a million times, and hopefully we'll do pi equals pi times 4, and then system.out.println, and we'll print out pi. And hopefully, if we did this correctly, we should get an error. That's because index has to be plus equals 2 and index has to be 1. So we got 4, obviously, because this has to be a double, and we get 3.141593. So obviously we're a bit off because we didn't do as many iterations as we possibly could, but this kind of shows you that with a for loop you can do a lot of math really quickly, such as these, where you have to constantly be switching numbers around or adding and subtracting. So how a for loop is structured is you first declare for, obviously. Int I is your starting thing. Let's say we're going to start on 1 and we're going to do this a million times, right? And we're going to increment it until I is less than a million, and then we're going to run this every time. Now we don't have to worry about doing I plus plus because we're already doing that here. It's already incrementing it. 999,000. Yeah, since it's less than a minute. Yeah. Well, that was for the other example. But yeah, technically, that was a poor example. I mean, I could have printed it out and shown you all that, but I mean, it really wouldn't have mattered. So, what we're going to do now is we're going to use a while loop. So, a while loop is you're going to do something while something is true. So let's do it until pi is equal to 3.141592656. But I really don't want to go that far because when I run it, it's going to probably take a while. So let's do 6. Now what difference is this. Every time I get a difference of some number, right? When I go and change, when these numbers start changing, right, because you're adding and subtracting, I want to be able to say, okay, once I'm past 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I want to stop, meaning that 93 is constant. So I'm going to go and if you did in small basic, how would you get the switch? You do just that. You just do I equals I times negative 1. That's how you do it. And the negative switch is because it's 1 and then 1 times equals -1, so then you get -1. So while, so let's do this, while, and let's include this double delta, and delta is what's going to be our actual difference. Difference is just how much of a difference we want at our final thing. Delta is just what our current difference is. So we're going to equal to 1, and while delta is greater than difference, we're going to run this while loop. And how we're going to get this is we're going to get double temp is equal to 0. So once we have our first iteration of pi, we're going to do temp equals pi. Well, we're going to get delta is equal to math dot absolute, and our absolute value is going to be our temp, because obviously our temp is going to be bigger than our pi, maybe not, it kind of doesn't matter. And then our temp is now after going to equal pi, and after we run this, let's just do to a third, to a fourth, that way it's not such a big number. So pi is going to be running that, delta is going to equal math absolute temp minus pi. So if we run this, we get 3.1417. So that makes sense, because once we got past 4 digits, 3.1417, it was like, okay, well, the difference isn't that much. But if we do 6, it will take us a bit, 3.1459. So you see how it's technically 1 less, 3.1415.9, so it was approximate to the 5th decimal place, not to the 6th. So if you just keep bumping it up, 7, 3.141592, 8, and I'm surprised this is running incredibly fast. 3.141592, 9, and I'm also not counting how many iterations it is. But as you see, once I got to 8 and then I got to 9, it was a massive jump. It took 2 seconds to finish. So you got 3.14159265, and then you can just round it off or whatnot. So that's pretty much what a while loop is. In here, you can put in whatever you want as long as it equates to either a true or false. So you can say, while delta is not equal to difference, or while this is equal to that. You can keep going and keep using that while loop. And then once that while loop is finished, when this declaration is not true anymore, then it will pop right out and keep on going with whatever you have after. So that's a very good way to go through something where you don't know how many times it's going to run. So we don't know how many times delta is going to be bigger than difference. So we're going to say while the delta is bigger than difference, we're going to be running this as many times as until delta is less than the difference. So that's a good example. So on to our next thing. I'm just going to put this there, so that way in the comment I'll be putting the source code in there in case you guys want to just copy and paste it or whatnot. So the next thing we're going to use is our advanced for loop. So an advanced for loop is ran like this. For, now how advanced for loop is, it goes through okay, so let's say you have a box, right? And you're going through that box. Well, it's saying for all these items in this box, we're going to do something with it. Oh, what happens if I put to it like I equals negative 100? Yeah, no, thank you. I'll probably crash my computer and everything in it. So for all these items in this box, right? But these items have to be not necessarily similar, but they just have to be like if it's an array, right? If you have an array and you have integers for all these integers in this box, then do something with it. So let's start off by making an array. So how you make an array is int or string or whatnot, int I or int brackets, square brackets, and let's just do array equals new. Actually, not even new. Let's just do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. Right, and that's how you make an array. That's if like you wait, as you put the difference, like what what I mean by to 100, like I 1e negative 100. Oh yeah, that will be like 99 decimal places, and that'll take a long time. That'll take like 5 minutes just sitting there, just looking at the screen. Alright, so how for loops work is for int, right? So pretty much this object in here is a temporary placeholder. So it's saying for these values of, let's just say, of these values that are integers, because this is how you declare a variable, int or double or string. Some variable that's something is going to equal some number. Now how for loops work is it's basically saying, okay, so let's get this variable, let's get this item, let's equal it to this temporary value int, and then let's do something with it. So let's do values equals values times 2, and then system dot out dot print line values. So if we run this, as you can see, we get 2.9 whatever, that's from pi, but we get 1, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, and then obviously 0. 0 times 2 is 0. So that's pretty much how for loop is. Like, let's say you have a bunch of values in here that you don't know, well, not a bunch of values, but let's say it's classes, right? And you're like, okay, how do I go through a class using a traditional for loop? Do I use class something equals 0? No, because it's not, it could be possible, but that's why they made this advanced for loop, because it can take any value. Now, the difference between the advanced for loop and a traditional for loop is a traditional for loop can be set to something. So as I showed you, for loop int I equals 0, I is less than whatever, some number, 100, and then I plus plus, and then do something in here, right? And it allows you to go through something a certain number of times or whatnot, and you can have it a million times, right? There's no real number that you can't put in there. Oh yeah, the fourth. Oh, that's awesome. I'm the fourth person. So once you in here, you can put in whatever number of numbers in here, and then do that computation whatever amount of times you put in here. With advanced for loops, you can only go and do this computation as many number of times as there are indexes here. So there's 10 indexes, so this is gonna go through here, going and hitting each index in the array. Same thing for classes. If you hold a class, right, if you hold an array that's holding classes, then you are going to go through each class in that array and do something with them. It could be printing out what their values are, or printing out some number that you assign to them. So actually, let's do that now. Let's make a new class. Let's call it bowl. Yep. And in this bowl, we're going to create a constructor that's going to take the color, string color, and that's it. And let's initialize it here. So public color is going to be string color. So when we make this, we're going to do this dot color equals color. So real quick, if you guys don't know what this does, this is basically, you don't need to use it if the value up here is different from this value that you put in here. But if it is, what this does is it's referring to, like, if this is color, right, and we have color here, this is referring to this color, to this class, not this temporary value that is going to be put in. Okay, so now let's make let's make multiple classes. Okay, so let's do bowl red equals new bowl. So that's how you make a class. If you haven't seen I am in class video, I would recommend you to watch it. It's really helpful for those that don't know how to make classes. Classes are very important. So let's make another one. Let's just copy and paste because I'm very efficient. So let's do blue and let's do green. Let's capitalize that. So let's say you have a bunch of colors, right? Let's say you have like 1,000,000 colors. Well, and let's say they say, okay, I want to print out all these colors. Well, you're thinking, well, how can I go through an array? How can I go through all these actually, let's do bowl. Now let's add these colors. You're probably let's say you're asked, red, blue. You're asked, oh, I want to go through all these, I don't know, let's say you have 1,000,000 colors, all these 1,000,000 colors, and print them out one by one. And you're probably thinking, well, how can I use a for loop to go through all this? Well, that's when your handy dandy friend, the advanced for loop, comes in. Because the advanced for loops can take classes, can pretty much take any value you wish to put in, and you're good to go. So let's set this up. So for now, what people might be thinking, oh, we use colors. No, remember the first assignment that we make is the temporary value, what we're going to be calling it. So what we're going to have is we're going to have bowl, right, and we're going to call this color, right? And so it's of the value color in colors, right, or in colors. I'm going to get the color. You're going to do color. So color is assigned to a class that's is a class that's being assigned to all these values. So color is going to equal red, blue, and green at some point. And then you're going to do color dot color. I know that's weird. Oops. So now we're going to do system.out.print line, and let's do this. The class, and then let's do plus color dot toString. So what that does is it just changes the class into a name. So red will be red, hopefully. And then if we run this, Well, the thing with colors is when you put to string, it just does this. It just puts this and this color, and it's just dumb. So if you do want to get what the name was, you just make a new method called GetName, and you print out a string, and you just return, let's just say return color, or return this dot so let's just do, yeah, let's not do that. Let's not complicate ourselves by getting the name of the class. Let's just get equal to whatever this is. So the class has, or this class has the color, whatever assigned to it. And if we run this, we get, has the color red, the color green, the color blue, and let's do that, so that way we know that this is what it is. So this class has the color red, the color blue, and the color green. So that's pretty much what for loop, or advanced for loop does. If you have an array, you can put in arrays. If you have an array of classes like this, where red is a class of ball, blue is a class of ball, green is a class of ball, and let's say you have a million of them, right? And then you put them all in an array. And your teacher says, oh, go through all these classes and print out this value or this value. Then you're probably thinking, how can I do this? Now, you could also do this with a traditional for loop. What you do is int I equals 0. So I is going to, instead of I, let's call this index. I is less than colors dot length, and then I plus plus. Then we go through this colors, the index, because it starts at 0, right? The color dot color index and system dot out dot print line, and then we are done. So you could have done it this way, right? So you get red, green, blue, just like this. But look how much less code you have to put in. You just have to put in your type, and then your temporary variable that you're assigning to the objects that you take out of colors or whatever array it is, and then you're done. You just do color dot this. But in a traditional for loop like this, you have to go create an index, right? So you have to know what indexes are, right? And you have to worry about what those are. And then you have to call this. Now, I'm not gonna get into this now because it can get really complicated, but there's these things called iterators that allows you to take out and put in variables or put in classes mid loop, and that's really complicated because normally you couldn't do that with a class. You couldn't remove a class from an array of classes, but with iterators it allows you to go and do that. So red and all that has, yeah, they all have, with Small Basic, which is a really nice language. It's a very simple language, but it's a nice language regardless. They have color palettes that allows you to have like the RGB values, and here you can do that as well. You can add the red, green, blue and you just have to change your what this is. So you just have to do string color int r, int g, and int b, and then just go off from there. But as of currently, I do not know how long I am at. So I am at 30 minutes. Jesus Christ. Okay, so I think I'm going to end the tutorial there, because I believe I am pretty much have gone over where did my mouse go? I've gone through all the important loops, and that's pretty much it. All these loops, you can also put them in classes. So all you have to do is just call them up, and you don't. So all you have to do is type this up once, and then just call it as many times as you want. But that's pretty much it. Advanced for loops are great when you have classes inside arrays, so you don't have to worry about indexes. And if you're just doing something simple where you don't have a class, you're just doing something over and over again, you'll use a traditional for loop, because you technically don't have, you can't put anything in here as your array. You have to have something in here that's holding values. So it could be an array, it could be multiple classes, it doesn't matter. You have to have something in here that the temporary value can grab information from. So that's pretty much it. I hope you have a wonderful night, because I'm recording at night. Please subscribe, share, post in the comments what you liked about the video, what you didn't, what I can improve on, and what you would like to see next. Have a great one.